Nico's heart raced as the floor beneath them trembled once more. The gears overhead groaned, their steady ticking turning erratic, resembling a heartbeat out of sync. Luma spun around, her eyes wide.
This is bad, really bad.
Nico's tail flicked nervously.
What's happening?
She dashed towards a large metal panel on the wall, yanked it open, and extracted a long brass lever. Sparks erupted as she cranked it downwards. The gears above them sputtered but failed to regain their normal rhythm.
The time gear is the heart of this city,
Luma explained hurriedly.
If it slows down or stops, time itself could collapse.
Nico swallowed hard.
Collapse.
Luma nodded, snatching a rolled-up blueprint from the shelf. She unfurled it onto the wooden floor, revealing a detailed map of the tower's inner workings.
Look.
She pointed to the center, where a giant golden gear was depicted.
This is the great time gear. Every clock, every moment, every second in this city depends on it maintaining perfect motion.
Nico scanned the diagram, trying to understand it. Then he noticed something peculiar. A section of gears near the bottom was marked with tiny symbols. Unlike the others, these gears weren't made of metal.
What's this?
He asked. Luma's ears drooped.
The founders placed special enchanted gears within the mechanism. If even one of them cracks, the entire system weakens.
Nico blinked.
Wait, cracks.
Just then, another tremor shook the floor. A loud clunk echoed from deep within the tower. Luma gasped.
No, this isn't merely slowing down. Something's broken.
Nico felt his fur bristle. He had only just stumbled into this magical world, and now, he might be standing inside a collapsing tower. A deep, reverberating voice rang through the hallways.
Intruders! You have violated the sanctum of time.
Nico's ears perked up. Heavy footsteps echoed closer, several of them.
The timekeepers,
Luma whispered.
We have to run,
Nico said.
No,
Luma replied suddenly, gripping his paw.
We must fix the time gear first.
How?
Luma hesitated, then took a deep breath.
We go to the core of the tower, to the very heart of time.
Before Nico could protest, she grabbed a lantern, yanked open a hidden door beneath the floor, and gestured for him to follow.
We need to hurry.
Her voice was firm, but fear flickered in her eyes.
If the timekeepers catch us before we fix the gear, we might be erased from time itself.
Nico didn't need to be told twice. He leapt into the passageway, his paws hitting the metal steps below. The glow of the lantern flickered as they descended into the unknown, toward the very heart of time. Nico and Luma raced down the spiraling metal staircase, the lantern's glow flickering against the stone walls. The air grew thick with the scent of oil and aged brass. Beneath their paws, the tower trembled again, short, uneven jolts, as if the very bones of the structure were shifting out of place. Nico's tail flicked anxiously.
Are you sure this passage leads to the core?
Yes,
Luma replied, clutching the blueprint in one paw and the lantern in the other.
it's the quickest route, if we're not too late.
Another tremor shook the walls. Above them, the grinding of gears morphed into an eerie whine. A deep, echoing voice bellowed from the upper halls.
Intruders, halt at once.
The timekeepers were closing in. Luma tightened her grip on Nico's paw.
Run.
They burst through an archway and skidded into a vast, circular chamber. At the center stood the great time gear, a colossal, golden mechanism suspended in the air, turning with slow, precise movements. It pulsed with a soft blue glow, radiating ancient magic. Or at least, it should have. Nico's breath caught. One of the enchanted gears, a crystalline blue cog near the base, was cracked in two. Sparks fizzled from the fracture, and the once steady glow flickered erratically. Luma gasped.
It's worse than I thought.
A clunk echoed behind them. The door had sealed itself shut. Nico's ears flattened.
Tell me you have a plan.
Luma swallowed.
I think I can repair it.
She unrolled the blueprint and traced a line with her claw.
There's a backup enchantment mechanism built into the framework. If we can replace the broken piece and realign the magic, the time gear should stabilize.
Nico's eyes darted across the chamber. The walls were lined with shelves, stocked with ancient tools and mechanical parts.
So we just find a replacement gear and…
No,
Luma interrupted.
it has to be enchanted. And only something alive can bind the magic back together.
Nico's fur bristled.
What do you mean? Alive?
Luma hesitated, then reached into her satchel and pulled out a small, silver pocket watch. It looked ordinary except for the tiny, glowing rune etched into its cover.
This was my father's,
she whispered.
It carries a fragment of time's magic. If I fuse it with the broken gear, it might just work.
Nico's stomach tightened.
But won't that destroy it?
Luma met his gaze, sadness flickering in her golden eyes.
Maybe. But if we don't fix this, the entire city could collapse into a time rift.
A deep boom shook the chamber. The timekeepers were forcing their way in. Nico took a deep breath.
Then let's do it.
Luma nodded and dashed toward the cracked gear. She pressed the pocket watch against the fracture, whispering an incantation under her breath. A soft silver light spread from her pores, threading into the broken cog. The time gear trembled. The blue glow brightened, pulsing like a heartbeat. The grinding above them slowed, gears falling back into a steady rhythm. For a moment, everything was still. Then, crack! The pocket watch shattered into shimmering dust. The glow of the time gear pulsed once more, then settled into a smooth, steady light. Luma staggered back, breathing heavily. The chamber fell silent. Nico stared at the now repaired gear, awestruck.
You did it.
The sealed door behind them creaked open. The timekeepers stood in the doorway, their glowing eyes scanning the chamber. Nico braced himself, but instead of attacking, the tallest of them, their leader, bowed his head.
You have restored the balance.
The timekeeper rumbled.
The city is safe.
Luma exhaled sharply. The leader stepped aside, motioning toward the passage.
Go. Your time here is not over.
Nico and Luma exchanged a glance, then turned and stepped forward, leaving the heart of time behind them. As they emerged into the city, the sky was golden with the setting sun. The clocks on the towers chimed in perfect harmony. Luma looked down at her empty paw. Where the pocket watch had been, Nico nudged her gently.
Your father would be proud.
She smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek.
Time moves forward. And so shall we.
With the city restored and the timekeepers watching over them, something still felt unfinished. Luma clenched her paws.
The pocket watch is gone,
she whispered.
a part of my father's magic, lost forever.
Nico frowned.
But you saved the city. You repaired time itself. That has to mean something.
Before Luma could respond, a low hum filled the air. A soft glow emanated from the ground beneath their feet, forming a swirling pattern of silver light. Nico's ears perked up.
Is this supposed to happen?
The light pulsed once, twice, then rose into the air, forming a shape. A tiny, floating clock hovered before them, its face shifting like rippling water. The hands spun rapidly before slowing to a stop. A familiar rune was etched into its surface. Luma gasped.
That's
The clock's glass face shimmered, and suddenly, a voice, gentle and warm, whispered through the air.
Luma, my clever little star. You did it.
Her breath hitched.
Pupper.
The voice continued.
Time is never truly lost. It moves forward, but the echoes remain. I left a part of myself in that watch, not just magic, but memories. And because of you, those memories will live on.
Luma reached out, but the floating clock began to fade, its glow dimming.
Pupper, wait.
The voice softened.
I am always with you, my little star. As long as time moves, so shall we.
With a final flicker of silver light, the tiny clock dissolved into the air. Luma stood still, her paws trembling. Then, slowly, a small smile formed on her face.
He's not truly gone.
Nico nudged her gently.
Not as long as time keeps turning.
The two friends turned toward the city, where the golden glow of sunset bathed the rooftops. In the distance, the clock tower chimed one last time, a deep, steady note that echoed through the streets, a promise that time would continue. Luma wiped her eyes and grinned.
Come on, Nico. The city is safe. But our adventure's just beginning.
Nico wagged his tail.
Where to next?
Luma glanced up at the sky, the stars beginning to twinkle.
Anywhere time takes us.
And as they walked through the streets of Gildenspire, laughter in their voices and adventure in their hearts, the great time gear turned high above, its steady rhythm a reminder that every moment is a story waiting to be told.